This is the April 20th meeting of the Flood and Erosion Control Board. Let's see, 7 p.m. And we're going to go around and say who is here. My name is Becky Bunnell. I am the chair. Please go around and say who is here.
Okay, Don Lamberti.
And I'm Dick Mahusky. I'm the secretary.
And Prue, recording secretary.
Okay, and we know that one of our members, Paul Andino, is not able to make it, but we do have a quorum, so we will proceed with the meeting. So item 1 on call is approval of the minutes. We have the February 16th draft minutes, and then we did not have a quorum for the March meeting, but we do have minutes that Dick did, so let's go through both of those sets of minutes. Does anyone have any comments on any of the minutes?
No, they're fine.
Well, since I wrote both of them, I think they're perfect.
Absolutely.
All right. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Let's
I will
minutes.
make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second the motion.
All right. So all in favor, please verbally say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Dick, aye.
All right. The minutes are so approved. Great. All right. So let's move on to item 2 on call, which is review of the Flood and Erosion Control Board Master Plan. So let me just sort of step back a minute and talk about sort of updating our plan itself. Dick, I know you were going to take a stab at that. I know you were busy writing the strat plan letter. But have you had a chance to start drafting any of that? I know I was taking a stab at it too, but from a different angle.
No, I have not. I looked at it. I looked at it for a while. I tried to get some format into my head. I sort of kept coming back to, I think we need to reference / incorporate the strategic plan and the sustainability plan as well as the POCD, because the more I learn about those plans, the more I feel strongly that they are so linked together that you can hardly consider one plan without how it integrates into the other plans. But no, yeah, I have nothing tangible to submit.
Okay, and then we also, I believe, are getting some stuff from Circa. Yoprek has been doing some work for us, doing some early stage modeling. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that would then go into this plan as well.
Do you know what they're modeling?
It's going to be the flooding resulting from sea level rise and different category storms, I believe.
Yeah. Are they working on the peninsula or the?
I think the whole floodplain is my understanding.
Yeah, I mean
the
basin. I think we've kind of established that the peninsula will suffer tidal surge, but there's no long-term flooding after the surge is finished, because it just drains either back into the sound or the creek.
Correct. I think the only consideration there is something that probably will end up having to be paid for by private residences. But if they wanted to mitigate damages from wave action, I am concerned, and I'm not sure how we even model this, but I am concerned now that all these houses are being raised, the intensity of the wave action is going to be higher, presumably, and I'm just nervous that you're going to start to see more intense wave-related damages to roads because now there's not a row of houses in front to block those waves.
Right.
And I don't know how I don't even know how you model that, but I'm going to be asking Yoprek and any other people if they have seen that now that everyone's starting to raise houses, and if that is a concerning thing that we need to worry about, because that is a safety egress and issue. If people can't get to their houses, if emergency vehicles can't get to their houses because the roads have to be repaved, that could take months. So that is is an area that I'm not sure how we even assess the potential risk of that. But that is a risk, I believe, and we need to think about how and who would pay for that. But I think that's where the intermittent breakwaters maybe could be a way forward.
Sounds good to me.
All right, so we do need to kind of sort of, Dick, maybe you and I know you and I had sort of signed up for that. Maybe we should put that on our our list.
I'll try
and give ourselves an end date for a draft, maybe end of June or something. Does that give us enough time to really get something together?
Yeah, I think we should have a progress report, maybe with a skeletal outline for the May meeting, and then based on feedback, flesh it out for the June meeting.
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
And I do, not that my actions will give any support to this, but I have a little sticky note sitting right here on my printer that says 2021 Master Plan. So it's always in front of me. It winds up, I don't know what happens during the day, but I'm leaving that sticky note there until I can lawfully, legally, morally take it down.
I'm glad it's there. All right. So let's. Are there any updates on any of the plan elements? I actually do not have any updates myself. I wasn't able to reach out to Laura or Bill to get any updates on where we stand with any of the key projects. Dick, I don't know. You've maybe gone to some of the wastewater meetings. I'm not sure if you have any updates.
Well, yeah, I've gone to most of the wastewater treatment plant. They're bi-weekly meetings now. I think bi-weekly means every 2 weeks. They're every 2 weeks anyway. And it's my reaction is it's kind of like, they pulled off for the winter months, and it's not really getting manned up again. The helical and earthworks who are going to do the humps in the road. It's like, well, they're off on other jobs, and I'm trying to get them back this week. And the other thing is that with this building the humps in the road, the approach is going to be one lane at a time, and with the garbage traffic and the school bus traffic in the morning, then they come back to the school bus place, and then they leave the school bus place again at 1 o'clock to do their afternoon runs. It's like this is going to be a real mess. And early last fall, they talked. And this is just my personal opinions and observations. Last fall, they talked about opening up the fence line at the back of the transfer station, which goes out to, and I don't know the name of those streets there, but you can get to the transfer station, to the truck scale, to the school bus parking area without going past where they build the two humps. When they're building one hump, you can still get to the fire training center and the wastewater treatment plant and the earthworks things. So they would have to build one hump at a time, but you can get access to every place when they're building those two humps. And that was decided that no, that was not necessary. They could just use flagmen. And now I'm listening to the conversation, and I'm saying, you guys are having second thoughts. And when they were talking about it last fall, I said, man, that's the smart thing to do. But they're going to have two-way. They're going to have one-way traffic, so they'll be building half of the road, and then in the middle of the day they'll switch over to the other half of the road and lift that up 18 inches, and then they'll come back the next day and do one half of the road up 18 inches, then flip to the other half of the road in 18 inches. It's going to be a mess, no matter what. But it's progressing on. One thing is we need to get it done before the next hurricane season, and the other good thing is we have enough invoices now that we are able to ask for reimbursement from the state for the grants that we got. So we don't have to worry about the grants disappearing. I think it's end of September. We don't have to worry about the grants disappearing before we requested reimbursement. So that's a good thing.
That's good.
So it's moving along. They're not getting back in gear as quickly as I would have hoped they would do that. The other thing,
are they keeping within budget?
I'm not exactly sure. There have been a couple change orders, but I think basically they're pretty much within budget. I mean, the budget's now $7 million. So,
yeah,
God. But
yeah.
they got some additional appropriations for the contaminated soil work and all of that, because that has been a big problem with this whole project. It's just
really,
I don't know. Again, my opinion, it's so out of proportion. I can't believe what they're doing. But it is what it is. So it's moving along. It'll be finished sometime late summer, I think. That's me looking into their crystal ball.
Okay.
So that's it.
Okay, thank you for that.
The other thought that I had, and I need to do this. The budget has been approved for the $100,000 study for the Fairfield Beach Club property. I want to go and reach out to their board of directors, their president, their chairman, however they're structured, just to start the dialogue and let them know that we're not trying to do this like a cowboy and run roughshod over them. Years ago, Rick Grauer and I had a meeting with their steering committee, their main guys in the board of directors, and it was cordial. It just established the fact that they were not interested in doing anything on their property because that would impact unfavorably their ability to run a beach club. So that's why we kind of gravitated out to, well, we'll do it at the edge of the roadway.
Okay.
But I don't even know who that is nowadays. It used to be Attorney Miller. I know he was the chairman of that group. So I will find out who it is today and have some kind of initial hi, how are you? Be aware that we have this money in the budget for a study, and we're going to be studying it, and we will certainly consider all of your needs, wants, and desires.
Well, I think if I understand it correctly, near the edge of the roadway would mean that there would be no sidewalk on that side. Is that correct then?
That's my vision. My vision for the project is take all of the utility poles that are on the sound side of the street, move them to the north side of the street, and put a sidewalk on the north side of the street. That then frees up that whole line at the street line of the Fairfield Beach Club property to build a wall with some number of sliding floodgates for access. I see three sliding floodgates to give them.
Well, there'd be four, because there'd be the beach club access itself, beach club parking lot, then the three houses, right?
Well, no, I don't see the wall. I don't see the flood wall going past the three houses. The flood wall would just extend across the beach club property's road frontage and then turn toward the sound at the property line between the beach club and Mulcahy's house.
Oh, okay. So then there'd only be
Just
one
like,
opening then. It would be just where the parking lot access is.
No, because my thinking is to replicate what they have now. And they have an opening at their boathouse, which is at the end where Mulcahy's house is. They have an opening in the middle at the tennis courts, because that's how they deliver truckloads of material to the center tennis court, if you will, and then they can breach out to the other courts and access the other courts.
Yeah.
And then they have an entrance to their parking lot. So they have three functional entrances now, and I would think to just replicate those.
Well, every opening we add is significant
Money.
Extra cost, right?
Yeah, I
so
realize.
I think we should I think we should work with them to see whether they can deliver stuff to their tennis court, for example, through their parking lot instead, and that would save quite a bit of money,
I believe.
Yeah, that's
I
a good point.
actually don't know that. But yes, I think there
I
needs to be some discussion and some options. Yeah.
Yep, I would start with a proposal of 2 access points, one to the parking lot, one to the boathouse.
Okay, and it could be just a ramp too, as well. Built if we're allowed to add, Bill. Anyway, you know what? We're not going to solve the engineering right now. So it's good that we've got the study.
Correct.
And so I guess and that got approved. But has the RTM meeting approved the budget yet?
That is totally approved.
And did the pump stations money get approved?
I'd have to go and look back. I think that's in the next year.
Oh, I think you're right.
I don't think there's anything in this. See, and I'm confused with this capital stuff. I don't know if the capital starts on July 1st to be available July 1st, or they can encumber the money now but not get any bills until July 1st. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But anyway, I think the South Benson pump station is off to next year.
It's the following year. Okay.
The other thing that did get approved is a little minor project to replace the culvert on Reef Road that goes between the west side and the east side, if you will, of Reef Road, just south of the entrance to the town yard. That's an old culvert. It's not too big. It chokes the marsh between Reef Road and Penfield Road. There's a marsh in there.
Yeah, I remember that.
That doesn't get a very good saltwater exchange. I'm not exactly sure what the parameters of the new culvert are going to be. I'm just writing myself a note. I have to talk to Bill Hurley about that because, and again, this is not our jurisdiction or our concern, but I think from the conservation standpoint, we should try and rehab as much marsh as we can, because maybe we can get some kind of credit for it down the road when we take marsh to build a berm or a dike.
Right, we may need it. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't maybe just replace the culvert as is. I wonder if we should look at other options to reinvigorate that marsh. Anyway, so maybe that's a conversation for Bill.
And if we did have a director of conservation, that's a topic I would talk with her. I would talk with her about also.
Him or her. Yeah.
They should.
The only master plan item, which I know we had Perry's Green, we had talked about replacing that seawall and putting that in. I believe that's in our plan at some point. I don't know if we had a dollar amount with that. Doesn't Bill have some money in for Perry's Green?
That's
why I couldn't remember whether he put that in this year's budget or was that in the capital plan.
I went over there and because there was some talk about the tide gates at Perry's Green, and I couldn't visualize that, so I went over there and took some pictures of it. I'll put that together into a Word document. I'll paste the pictures on there and send that around just so you guys can see what I saw.
Okay.
I'll send it around.
Because my understanding is he actually thought there needed to be repairs to the wall as well.
Right. There needs to be repairs to the wall, and then he also talked about the tide gates. And I'm not. I'd have to go back and read the 14 points to see what he's talking about. But I think an item for doing something there was approved.
Okay. Because all right. So if it was, I want to coordinate with Bill. I should probably then reach out to him. The Pequot Yacht Club, which is next to us, reached out to me as chair of Flood and Erosion, and they are going to be wanting to do some work on their wall. And I said, well, we are actually looking to do some work on the Perry screen wall. I didn't think it was going to be this year. I thought it was a year out. So I may have misspoken. But I said that it would make sense, and we both agreed it would make sense to coordinate the work both from the standpoint of just making sure that the elevations were the same, and as we were doing the work, we were making it into a synergistic whole, if you will, because they abut each other.
Right, and there could be cost reduction by not manning the job twice and using a common contractor.
Exactly. So, so he is. They're fundraising for that too. I think he was 1.5 years out, or even 2 years out. So let me talk to Bill and see if we can't coordinate. The other thing that, if I understood it correctly, I was on one of these the DEEP webinar with Sue. Is it Sue Jacobson? Who was the? There was a woman who.
Yes.
She gave a very interesting webinar, and if I understood her correctly, and I have a follow-up note out to her, she said that one of the things that Connecticut DEEP does allow you to do when you are repairing an existing seawall is you are allowed to take it up by 1 foot, if I understood it correctly.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and that was right. That was I think the gentleman, I forget his name, the gentleman who was talking mentioned that they will permit repair to an existing seawall, and they will allow you to go up 1 foot. Because I asked the question, why don't you allow people to go up 20 inches, recognizing that our own state is adopting 20 inches by 2050, and a wall should be certainly expected to last for 30 years. And his response was, he doesn't see that happening without the legislature putting enabling legislation in place, because DEEP's happy doing what DEEP always has done. And my inference was they're not going to be forward-looking. They're just going to say, nope, you got to just do what we do. And my other inference was that the 1 foot came about because it was a de minimis change, like it wasn't enough to matter and change any of the water dynamics, so they'll let you go another foot.
But you know what, I got to tell you, that I think makes a huge difference to a lot of the Fairfield shoreline. I know that there was huge resistance to the Pine Creek, whole dike system area, seawall basically being raised 6 feet.
Yep.
Well, certainly I can understand why 6 feet would be problematic. I would be willing to guess that 1 foot, given that Sandy came within inches of overtopping their existing dike, 1 foot would give us just that much more protection. And I would guess that no one would have a major issue with 1 foot.
I would agree.
So I think this is to me is potentially something we need to think about doing. Everywhere we have a wall area and are doing a repair. Certainly for Perry's Green.
I would love to raise Pine Creek dike up 1 foot.
Yeah, I think it would just be a smart.
Well, start talking to your neighbors.
I think 1 foot it might be plausible.
Yeah, I think people would accept 1 foot.
I do
so
too.
Anyway, so Dick, let's think about that as we do the updated 2021 plan, and think about taking advantage of existing DEEP approval, areas that they will approve, and what would that? I mean, maybe that's where we can have the modeling. Maybe EPROC can do an additional modeling if we were to take up all these areas 1 foot. How much less flooding would we get at various storm and water levels? It certainly would have helped if Sandy, the wind hadn't turned, it would have gone over, and another foot it probably would have stayed seaside of that anyway.
Right.
So I do think we should think about that, and then at the end of the day, once we have our plan, we're going to need to have a series of public meetings in each of the areas with neighbors. So I mean, that's going to be our action item once we have the plan.
Sounds good.
All right. So
anything else? Another comment. Just another comment on that. That property down or south of you, Becky, south of your house, they're replacing the seawall. Remember, those two properties went before Zoning Board of Appeals to put garages with offices up above, and
one of them One of them has replaced the seawall and put a dock in. The other one hasn't started the work yet.
Right. The other one, the other one, they filled in the eroding land side of their timber bulkhead. They filled that in with gravel, and my sense is that's about all they want to do.
No. They have to repair that, didn't they? Wasn't that part of the deal?
No, that's what I tried to make part of the deal, but it was not part of the deal.
Oh, wow. All right.
Oh, yeah. No, that's why I I said exactly what could have happened if they both decide to repair their bulkheads at the same time. It would have, saved them money, because that outfit that does most of the bulkheads from Portchester, I think, they had their machine there, with the barge, with the crane on it and everything, and it would have been so nice. But the point I was going to get to is that it seems to me, looking at the other half of that bulkhead, which is the other property, it kind of looked like the bulkhead was built at the same time, or at least to the same elevation. The new bulkhead is no higher than the old bulkhead. And that was one of the points that I made in my comments to the Zoning Board of Appeals, that if they're going to do that, why don't you raise it up a little bit to prevent the sunny day flooding 10 years from now? But I think they just put it back at the height it was.
So I'm going to push Sue from Deep on if they're willing to raise a seawall by a foot when they do repairs. Why can't we raise the bulkhead? Is in essence a seawall to the creek.
Oh,
so I don't understand. Yes. So I don't understand why that wouldn't apply to bulkheads. In which case, all of the bulkheads, when they do any repair like what was just done, they can raise it a foot. And I think if she agrees with that, then I think we need a town agreement, so that zoning and the building and engineering all have to sign off when someone comes with a site plan that everything has to be raised a foot as part of the repair.
Make it a mandate.
Yeah, exactly. So first let me get that clear through Deep, but once we have an alignment that is the way Deep would choose to interpret that, I think we just make this a town mandate.
I agree.
The other thing, I will do this. I will send a letter to Christine Cohen, who is the chair of the Coastal Caucus, and also to Kristen McCarthy-Vahey, who is on the Coastal Caucus, referencing that webinar where the guy said, it'll take legislation to recognize 20 inches. And because I think within the Coastal Caucus, they should say to their fellow legislators, hey, sea level rise is coming. Let's just put this in here so anyone who repairs their wall has the ability to raise it 20 inches by right.
Yeah, I think so. Now, did you? I had sent something to Kristen a while ago asking if there had been any movement on the Coastal Caucus and if they've been meeting, and I got nothing back. Did you hear anything back when you reached to her?
No, I sent her something, not specifically asking for a reply, but I got nothing back from her, and I was kind of surprised. And I just said to myself, well, she's busy with this whole legislature thing that's going on and all the bills and stuff. And
maybe, but usually she's very good about replying. So
I agree. She's a excellent communicator.
Yeah. So I may reach out to her again as well and just resend my note. But if you could do the same thing, and also, as you said, to the woman from, I guess, Guilford or Madison or Brantford. I guess she's from Brantford.
Brantford. She represents a couple towns there, I think, but basically Brantford, because she was involved in getting that resilience fund enabling legislation through.
Okay. Anything else on master plan, or should we move on to
Christine Cohen? Christine Cohen is her name.
Yes. So, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So let's move on to item.
Senator. She's a state senator, I believe, not a representative.
Yes, she is. No, she is a senator.
Yeah, she's a senator. Yeah.
So if there's nothing else on the master plan, let's move to item 3 on call, which is the Flood and Erosion Control Board strat plan letter, which Dick had sent out. Does anyone have any comments on that letter?
I have a couple. Okay.
Okay.
On the very first page there, under general comments, is the second paragraph says, "Our main message to you is do not ignore the items." That almost sounds like a demand to me. I thought we should soften a little bit, like please do not ignore it or something. The last sentence. Our main message to you is do not ignore the items. Does that sound too harsh? Like it's a demand?
Which is this page 1? I'm just looking.
Page 1, right in the middle of the page is a big paragraph there, and near the end of the paragraph.
I think you're too kind and sweet of an individual, Don.
Okay, I apologize.
I can see that. I can see that saying, our message to you is to not ignore the items on our list.
Yeah,
I think that softens it a little bit.
Yeah, I thought I'd like to soften it. The message is good. Just soften a little bit.
Okay. What was your? Did you have other comments as well?
Oh yes, and then at the bottom of the page there are 3 bullets. There's no mention of chronic problems, so on. Could we add another bullet? There's no mention of protecting the tax base. Is that appropriate there or not?
Yeah, actually, I think that could be done in a slightly different way, but just not. I think there should be maybe a little paragraph that says, towns are going to see increasing economic consequences of sea level rise, including, reduced property taxes. Bond ratings will be impacted by how well towns have created resiliency plans. I actually think that's a really good point. That I had a quick conversation with Brenda about this.
Yeah.
I was meeting with her on a Sustainable Fairfield Task Force issues, but I took the opportunity to say that we really were surprised and disappointed with the lack of mention and impact of sea level rise in the strat plan document. And her initial comment was, "Oh, well, that's supposed to be in the POCD." And I said, "No, actually, I think there is a huge economic reality that will impact our town and the vision of how we think about our town if we, have a major, sea level and or, flooding issue again. And if that becomes recurring, it's going to change the character and nature of our town. And it's going to change our bond rating, and it's going to change our tax base, and it's going to have many consequences. And it wasn't even recognized or mentioned in the strategic plan." And she sort of went, But her other point, just FYI, was, "I'm not sure they're going to make any changes. I think they think it's final." was her other point? Is that she?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
It was her perception that this plan was a final plan, and that they had taken all their comments in. But I'm
sure they do think that.
So I think that. So I do think we need. I think actually adding an economic reality bullet does make sense. So Dick, maybe why don't you and I offline craft that?
Okay. Well, let me say this first of all. Yeah, I agree. I think that is their final plan. Whatever they've paid the consultant to put all that together, they don't want to pay him anymore. However, all of these points can be recognized and included in the action steps that we will take going forward. So this is still a valuable document, and we should have a seat at the table. Sustainability should have a seat at the table.
Right.
Don, if you look at page 3 in the appendix, and you go down to major issues and concerns.
Yeah, I see it.
The second bullet point, how do we convince DEEP that maintaining our property values and hence tax base is important in the face of their focus on natural mitigation measures?
Absolutely, that's crucial.
That topic is in here. Repetition is probably good.
Yeah, I think that people won't give it the same weight, Dick, if it's in an appendix.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, I had one other idea here. It's somewhere they put down adopt regulations designed to anticipate and minimize future problems. And what I had in mind there was one, the bulkhead elevation. We should adopt some kind of standard for bulkhead elevations, and it's not there. And there's another one I've talked about it before, was that if you elevate the road going out to the peninsula, when Biankowski gets a brand new plot plan, he should make sure that the new plot plan is compatible with the road being raised up. They should anticipate that and put that into regulations.
Yeah, no,
There was conversation somewhere about that, just that we should anticipate the road being some number higher, and people should build their garages, especially on the creek side. They should build their garages such that today they're going up a ramp to the garage, but in the future they will be going down a ramp to the garage.
Yeah, they should show on paper to Biankowski that they can live with a road that's being raised up. Yeah, okay. I think they should do that.
However, this document is not the place to do that, I don't think. And to your other comment about the bulkhead, those are details that I don't think is really. Those are details that are the next level down from the strategic level.
Okay.
Nope.
Well,
But I think what he's saying is maybe a strategic objective can be adopting regulations that acknowledge, potential future sea level rise now, as opposed to waiting until the sea has risen. In other words, proactively adopt regulations, which is a strategic point. We don't have to get into the details.
Yeah, that's true. They don't say that.
No, and so maybe maybe we can sort of craft that fourth bullet point to talk about economic consequences and the need to proactively explore regulations to mitigate against these consequences.
To protect our tax base.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. A comment that kind of relates to that. I was on this webinar today, very brief webinar by CoreLogic. CoreLogic it's almost like a service industry to insurance companies. Like insurance companies pay these people to do studies and things for the general insurance industry. And this was on climate change. And one of the things they said is that in conversation, they have the impression that FEMA is thinking about revising the flood insurance rate maps to be forward-looking and not just present what the floodplains are today, but what they will be like 20 years, 30 years, 50 years into the future. And the whole thing was about how the insurance industry is going to factor in the risk of climate change. And another interesting thing they said was that sea level rise is the best understood future climate change result, because they don't really know what's going to happen with the temperature. They're not really sure how much the rainstorms are going to get bigger and bolder. But sea level rise, they understand that because of the carbon and the glacier melt and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'll keep my mouth shut on that one.
Yeah, I know.
So actually, and that's
but the point of that is that FEMA is perhaps looking to adopt a forward-looking strategy in the items they produce.
Okay, they probably should.
Yeah.
I think that's prudent.
Yeah, I do too.
They're hugely in the red right now just because they're not looking forward, and they've grandfathered so many properties in, and so they're still paying through the nose for all these properties that are repetitive flood, which is ridiculous. I don't believe they should be doing that. So I actually support re-looking at things. The only comment I have, though, is
depending on how forward-looking you are, I mean, it could mean that, people in Fairfield who are in a floodplain are going to see huge rises in flood insurance for the possible future potential of sea level rise, which isn't here yet. So it's almost like, when does it go into effect? I mean, I would hate to have everyone's flood rates go up in Fairfield when we don't have 20 inches yet.
Well, they are going up. Every year they go up quite a bit.
Yeah, but you buy insurance by the year. So each year, the person writing the insurance has the ability to anticipate what might happen to the property during that next year. What FEMA's looking at. See, now I'm confused in my own mind. They were talking about two things actually. They were talking about two things. They were talking about banks and mortgage lenders and insurance companies. Now, those two entities have a different view of the future, where a mortgage company is going to charge you
They've got a 30-year
premium to protect their investment,
right,
for the 20-year mortgage, the 30-year mortgage, where the insurance company is looking to charge you a rate to protect their or to cover their risk for the next year's period.
Yeah. So if it's only 1 year, then I would think that I would not expect to see big increases then, because year over year, you would see an escalating premium. But in the short term, I would not expect to see the full impact of a 20-inch sea level rise. That just doesn't feel fair to me.
It should not. That's not logical.
Yeah. Although
now,
it's interesting, I got a letter from the town. Our property has not been flooded. It was not flooded during Irene. It was not flooded during Sandy. We did not put any damages in. We did not submit any FEMA claims. And yet I got what I think was a repetitive loss letter. And it's like, properties, your properties around you have suffered repetitive losses. Therefore you are considered in a repetitive loss area. It's like, but no, I have not ever had a loss, ever. I am not repetitive loss.
And that's from the town? That's from Emmeline?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
And she had said in her, National Flood Insurance recap that she was going to send out the repetitive loss letters. And I was shocked when I got one. It was like, why am I getting one of these? I've never had a loss. And apparently, I haven't talked to Emmeline, but I guess I'm considered a repetitive loss, even though I haven't had any. So,
have your neighbors had any?
I don't know who's filed claims, but it doesn't really matter. My land is a little higher than theirs, and so I have not had any losses. I should not be considered a repetitive loss. I've never put a claim in. I've never had a loss.
Yeah, but I think there. You need to have an understanding of the definitions.
I mean, just 8 houses down from me, it floated into the creek. So, yes, there have been losses very close to me.
Yeah,
but
a repetitive loss area might be one thing, but a repetitive loss property is a subset of that. So you could be in a repetitive, again, depending on the definitions, you can be in a repetitive loss area, but your property has never had a loss.
Right. So, but does that mean then that FEMA will now reassess my insurance just because other properties in the area have had repetitive losses? I'm suddenly going to see huge insurance spikes, even though I've never had a loss. Anyway, I just think it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, and the other thing, just to Don's point about a step change in the insurance rates looking out 20 years, the other potential step change is when they, and I don't know if it's repeal or enact, this Breakwaters thing where they were trying to get the flood insurance system to charge appropriate premiums to cover the losses, and it was like they were going to go up, I'm making up numbers, they were going to go up 600% in the premiums.
Yep.
And everybody said, oh, no. So they said, oh, okay, well, we'll go up slowly. We'll only go a maximum of 10% a year or something like that. But I think that is on the trajectory to be reevaluated somewhere.
Well, it is going up something like that. I used to pay $2,300 a year. Now I'm paying $3,400 a year for my insurance, and I'm grandfathered in. So if I sell my house and somebody buys it, the new person will pay over $6,000 a year for the same insurance.
Oh, that's right, because you're on that sequential escalation until it gets up to the righteous number, but somebody with a new owner has to jump right to that righteous number of premium.
Yes, they do. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, elevate
All right,
your house.
well, I mean, that is going to impact property values as well. So these are all things that should be in our strat plan. Just another reason why our strat plan needs to, with 3,000 houses in the floodplain that might have this kind of an impact, that should at least be somehow recognized or mentioned from an economic.
Yeah, but Becky, the document looks nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The strat plan document?
Yeah.
Although I will mention, my house as it stands would be $6,000 a year or so. If I raised it up to the 14-foot, 15-foot level, it goes down to about $600 a year. They drop it way down.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, because I pay, Becky, what's your? Because I pay $500 for the flood insurance.
I pay $390 or something. Yeah, $390.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
So.
All right.
No, it's great.
Well, yes. And the reality is,
all right. So Becky, you and I can work offline.
We'll wordsmith a paragraph that captures the economic consequences in a way that is a strategic comment. Okay,
and then we'll send Don. We'll send it around, and you can look at it and just comment back to Becky, for instance. So it will not be a meeting, and we'll just do it.
Sounds good. Yep.
Because I still think it's important to get this off to them sooner rather than later.
I would agree.
Let's try and get it out this next week if we can.
Yes. Okay. Works for me.
Okay.
So let's move on to item 4 on call, additional old or new business as may come before the board. I just wanted to share one last thing that I did share with Brenda, which was I mentioned the fact that the HR 6441 and SB 971, the bills that are, currently, on the floor of the legislative houses right now. I said these are really important bills for us, and I sort of said it within the context of, if you've got some buddies still, in the Senate, you could lend your support. It would be really helpful because these could be very important bills for the town of Fairfield. She got very excited about it and said, yes, these do seem like really important bills. So I'm going to send her a recap of what bills are, being discussed and are going to presumably be going up for vote this legislative session, and ask for any support she could give, which also sort of sets the stage for potentially, when we send the resiliency note to the Board of Selectmen, this will not be new to her, and she will have already, hopefully been positively disposed towards supporting these ideas for the town.
Okay.
So that was a good conversation. I don't have any other old business.
Oh, what was a shoot? Wait, I had this thought just flit through my brain about Brenda and asking her about something else that was really, but I forgot.
Next month.
Man. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get as old as you, Don.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
No, I don't know what it was. It was something else that I wondered. And Becky, you and I may have talked about this the other day when you told me you were going to have this meeting with Brenda. Was it the resiliency fund and the things before? The charter revision. Were you going to ask her about the charter revision?
Yes, so I did ask the charter revision question as well. And basically what she said is it's actually more complicated than it appears on the surface. And that doing a charter revision is a 16-month process. and you have to get a committee, and I mean it's a very formal process that has to be a balanced committee, balanced by political party, by age and stuff. And so I got the sense that it was going to be an output of the strategic plan committee. I don't know that she's going to task. I didn't get the sense she was going to task the strategic plan committee with doing it, but that would be sort of the next step after that. But she is still absolutely planning on a charter revision. She thinks it's going to be, at least a 16-month process, because one of the big charter revision items is going to be the thing that came out of the strategic plan, which is the idea that maybe our form of government in the form of a selectman and a board of selectmen should move to a mayor and town manager system, some sort of system like that. And she says that could take, months, many months. So
I'm not sure what the difference is.
It's a smaller group, so the RTM would not be as large of a group. You would probably have a town council that would function somewhat similarly, but have a little less power, I believe.
Okay.
Did you talk at all about it? Is there a mechanism to modify a section of the charter with a more simple effort?
I did not bring that up. But I did get the sense that it's funny because it came up in another context with the current acting DPW director, who technically, per the terms of the charter, could never be made a permanent DPW director because he does not have an engineering degree, and that is written into the charter. But she was saying that that's another charter revision she wants to look at, because in her mind, so long as the DPW, whoever is sitting in that position, is a very, very good manager, that person has a staff of engineers, and she does not feel that person needs to themselves have an engineering degree, as long as they understand enough about engineering to speak intelligently with their engineering staff. So she said that that's absolutely one of the things she has on her plate to put onto the Charter Revision Committee. And I sort of got the impression that she would want to do that sooner rather than, the 16 to 18 months, but it could be that. And you
shared with me that Marsilio has a 2-year contract, I believe you said? 2 years?
I think it's at least a year and a half as acting.
A year and a half.
Yeah, that was the impression
months.
I got.
So let's see. That gives her a 2-month cushion.
I mean, that was the impression I got. I don't know if it's a formalized contract, but I got the impression. He said he gave me the impression he was here at least for 18 months, and then who knows after that. Was sort of the impression I got.
Do you have a sense, was he happily retired, or did he just retire from one position to get the pension, and now he's out looking to, or his wife wants him to get a job to get the heck out from under her feet?
Well, he's in his 70s. I got the sense that he had retired and was certainly open to the idea of coming and doing this job, but I don't know that he sees himself here for the next 10 years or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure he would actually even take a long-term position, but he certainly would be, willing to step in. He's certainly willing to step in for the next year and a half, and probably would stay a little longer if we needed him.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly seems like a vibrant enough guy. He's not.
Oh, he's great. I actually have really enjoyed working with him. I think he's great.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Any other old or new business?
No, not here.
No, I'm good. Prue, you have any old business?
I wish I did.
What did we forget? Oh, you haven't even been to the last 2 meetings, so you wouldn't know. What we promised to do and have forgotten.
That's why I was so excited to come to this one.
Are you done? Are you done with the Board of Assessment Appeals?
I am. Well, they were given an extension because there were like 660 appeals. So they had the hearings for all of them, and they were supposed to be finished by the end of April, the end of March, which obviously didn't happen. So they did get an extension into April. So I'm going to do 3 more meetings, but they're in April. So
yeah,
I'm
because Rick Brower was complaining to me that he got a no verdict for the second time, and he has to go back for or they have to review his case for the third time to try and reach a decision on it. Now, as far as me,
so I don't
know, Prue.
No
as far
action?
as me, you let them reject my plea in like 3 minutes.
You know what? I heard that whole, and I was like, oh gosh, I didn't. You know, there's nothing. Obviously there's nothing I can do. The board is like the board who they are, but I mean, I just take the minutes. I did hear that one, and I did feel bad about that, but I don't know. I mean,
hey, it is what it is. I can't really complain because when I go to sell it, I want to sell it for much more than the appraised value. So.
Yeah.
No, listen. Absolutely, and that's what's happening in town, and that's actually what's happening in a lot of places. So, yeah, I mean, listen, you live in you guys have, luckily, great areas for resale. I mean, people want to live at the beach.
Today.
Until the hurricane strikes.
Until sea level rises and the hurricanes come.
Yeah.
I know.
That's right.
Oh, well. Okay. That was just a diversion. All right, so I have nothing else, and I would propose that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Any seconds?
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. The meeting is now closed. I will turn off the recording.